Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? My name is Blitzwinger, and it is time for another Skylanders Giants review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the one and only Hothead. He's a very cool giant. I believe that this is, what is this? Is this my second giant that I'm taking a look at? I think so. Make sure to go check out T-Rex, of course. That was the very first review we did, so that was very cool. Make sure to go back and check that out. But now let's talk about the representative of the fire family, or the fire element, and that is, of course, Hothead. So if you guys don't know how these reviews work, I first take a look at the toy aspect of things, then I cut it, and we go to the fun part of looking at some upgrades, looking at the actual attacks, and showing off some fantastic gameplay. So let's get going with Hothead. So Hothead is a very cool design. I think design-wise, he's right there on par of like a lot of the other giants to be my favorite giant. I mean, as far as how he looks, I think he's fantastic looking. He's got a very unique look. He's got a lot of personality to himself. Got a big fire element logo right in the back right here, representing, you know what? He's got an awesome fire base. I mean, look at that thing. That is so cool. That is just fantastic. Look at that expression on his face. He's like, what? What's going on here? Let's set this sucker on fire. Yeah, he just looks awesome. I love the open kind of expression, the eyes being the yellow color. I mean, he just stands out really well. I love the flames coming from the arms, of course, over here, and the top of the head, because of course he is Hothead, so he needs to have some fire on top of his head, which is a little bit odd. I mean, he probably doesn't have a brain, or the fire is his brain, so he's definitely not the brightest of giants. But he makes up for that with his strength. The other thing that you notice through, via the game, you actually don't find this out just by looking at him, is that these two things on his shoulders are actually kind of like oil drums. And as you can see, there are like dots right here on the oil drums themselves, and they spew oil out of them. So that's kind of a fun little tidbit. So now, of course, let's go ahead and place Hothead on the Portal of Power. And let me bring up the camera a tiny little bit. And this is where I believe there was a missed opportunity. So let me turn off the light. And I mean, look, the base is awesome. It lights up. It looks like he's standing around fire. I like that. I like the fact that his head lights up. But why don't his arms light up? I mean, it's just such a missed opportunity. It's right there. I believe that a lot of the giants have several light up areas. For example, you look at someone like Crusher, he had his eyes light up and his shoulder kind of lights up. T-Rex's eyes and hand lights up. So it's just unfortunate that they did not actually go ahead and make sure that the flames on his arms light up, because I thought that that would have been really cool to see him having actual flames light up in his hands as well. I think that that would have been a nice little tidbit that they could have added. Sorry, a little bit with the camera there. But other than that, he's definitely fantastic. He's got a great design to him. I love his overall kind of magma rocky design. Very cool. A lot of cool coloring in terms of just oranges and reds and hues of dark browns and everything. It's just really cool looking. He's definitely got a cool look. But now that we took a look at what he looks like, I think it's just appropriate for us to go ahead and showcase some gameplay for the one and only Hothead. Alrighty guys, so now it is time to take a look at the statistics, upgrades, and of course, most importantly, some gameplay for Hothead, and then give him his final rating. But let's kick things off with the stats. First of all, look at that awesome chef's hat, which has a little bit of an impact on the statistics. As you can see, the +10 to elemental power and the +10 to the critical hit. So don't take that into account for his base stats. That is just a benefit of wearing that awesome chef's hat. Now, that being said, his critical hit and elemental power, both of those abilities are relatively high. That is kind of where he specializes, particularly in critical hit. An 80 critical hit at level 10, he's not even maximized yet. To have an 80 critical hit is very high, and that of course makes him a very damaging hitter, because he can do these critical hits on a much more rapid occasion than most of the other Skylanders, so that is definitely beneficial. But at the same time, as you can see, he's got a bit of a lacking statistical features in speed and armor, so unfortunately he's not a very strong defender. And even though on paper he seems like he would be a slow character, he's got an attack that helps him maneuver faster anyway, so that's not a concern to have but we'll get to that in just a moment. That being said, he's got a very high max health as well. Of course, that is kind of a property that almost all the giants share, I guess, is to have a ton of HP. That is kind of what makes them all kind of a common thing, a common theme within all the different giants. And he's no different, having 860 HP before he's even hit the max level 15 at level 10. I hope that made sense, right? Level 15, level 10, yay. Okay, now let's get to his upgrades, because if I'm honest, if you look at the statistics, he's statistically speaking, he's not a very interesting character, but his attacks and his upgrades are so flippin' fun to play. He's an awesome giant, and he's really, really fun to play as. So let's get to his attack. So first off, we've got his basic attack, which is the Flame Fire Burst attack, which basically just allows you, just as it says, to burst fire. Now it bursts out of your hands, which is pretty freaking awesome. It's like those, you know, all those cool martial artists that learn how to do like fireballs, or if you watch Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. Well, Hothead can do that because he can fire out of his arms, which is awesome. Speaking of doing things out of his arms, he can also send oil blobs out of his arms, which is really cool as well. And that is really the cool thing about Hothead, is that similarly to Pop Fizz, he's got a very chain type attack. And what I mean by that is that, like Pop Fizz, like he's got that ability Mixologist. You're able to, for example, throw one potion, then throw another potion onto it, and it creates a larger explosion. Well, the same goes for Hothead, to where you can combine this ability of oil blobs, where as you shoot it, it creates a pathway of oil, and if it hits an enemy, it coats that enemy in oil. Then you use your Flame Fire Burst ability to light that pathway up, so that enemies that run into it get damaged. And on top of that, that pathway of course leads to the enemy that has been now coated in oil, and then the enemy lights up. So it's pretty brutal, but at the same time it is fantastic to watch. Just like this poor Mohawk Cyclops right here in the premium grade upgrade, which basically makes your oil blobs and the ignited oil blobs do increased damage. So again, very useful tool. And then we've got his third attack, which is the Sizzle Shower attack, which basically allows you to summon a rain of fire, which is awesome. Basically, his shoulder pads are kind of like these oil drums type things, where he stores a lot of the oil. So that's very cool. I mean, he's got like a built-in oil in his body. He would be the most valuable Skylander in the world, considering how expensive oil is in the world right now. So basically, he shoots oil out of the oil drums and then fire out of the top of his head, and that creates a giant rain of fire, which is very, very cool looking, and we'll see that in just a moment. But next up, we've got Turn Up the Heat, which allows your Flame Burst attack to do increased damage, which is very useful. Extended Forecast, because of course it's raining. Extended Forecast, Weather Forecast. I love these types of like simple little puns and names and creative names. I love that they really go to like the critical little details like that. Activision does, of course, and damn, Toys Company, the guys behind the Skylander game. But basically, this allows your Sizzle Shower to not only last longer, but on top of that, do more damage, which is very, very useful. Now, right here is, of course, the path split up for Hothead, and usually, I'm pretty confident to say this is the path that I chose, this is why I chose it, and this is why I feel like this path is either more fun or more useful. And I usually am able to explain myself very, very well. Now with Hothead, I feel like both pathways are freaking fantastic, and the only reason I chose the bottom pathway over the top one is because this attack reminded me of Goku's Spirit Bomb, and I was like, okay, I freaking like that looks amazing, creating a giant meteor, a gigantic meteor that you could just slam down on the floor. That is just awesome. So I had to go with this pathway. So it's just a personal preference. But the top pathway right over here offers up Eternal Flame, which basically can use the flame burst continuously, which sounds super duper useful. Basically, you can just walk and burn everything without any stop. So you just keep going. You just hold down the A button and go to town, which sounds fantastic. Next up, you've got the Hot Oil treatment, which then allows the oil blobs and ignited oil blobs to do maximum damage, so they become even more damaging and even more useful. So again, a great way to kind of offer up more support to both of those attacks. And finally, the Fossil Fuel, power-up right over here, which allows your oil blobs to turn into fossilized monsters who attack enemies, and that sounds so much fun as well. So with Hothead, both pathways are awesome, and I really cannot sit here and say, oh, this pathway is better than this one, just because I think they're both really fun, and both offer up their own kind of specialties, you know. So speaking of the bottom pathways, the one that I went for is kind of goes much more on the Sizzle Shower power-ups. So as you can see, kind of the bottom pathway just powers up that one single attack. Meanwhile, the top pathway kind of balances it, powering up both the oil attacks and the flame burst attacks. So a little more well diversified is the top path in terms of giving you more diversity in which attacks get powered up. But that being said, the bottom path, we've got Firestorm, which basically allows your Sizzle Shower to do more damage and spread to a larger area. We've got Oil and Fire, which is really fun. Basically, as you do your Sizzle Shower, you can click X during the shower, which then creates an oil explosion around you basically, and all the enemies burn because you splash oil on them and you then light them on fire, which is really cool. And then of course, as I said before, the Meteor is fan-flippin-tastic. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. And then finally, remember how I said he's got a thing to solve his problems in maneuverability? Hot Rod, there it is. Allows you to turn into motorcycle. All I have to say is check out Kamen Rider Double Axel, ACCEL, and yeah, that will explain a lot. So now that we're done with all that jibber jabber, but then again, a lot of people like that exploit and show a lot of that stuff. So let's get into a battle so we can actually see some cool gameplay from the one and only Hothead, or Hot Rod, Hot Red. Oh, why don't we call him that? Hot Red Head. Whoa, okay, that sounds wrong. Alright, so let's get into it. So first off, we're gonna wait on some chompies, and I'll show you the basic attacks first, of course. So come on, chompies. Might level up actually to level 11 during this. So this is your flame burst attack, and as you can see, for me it's limited, but if you were to go with that top path, remember how there was that power up Eternal Flame, then you would just be able to continuously release this flame and you wouldn't be taking a break, which sounds awesome. I mean, imagine how fun it would be to just walk around and just be like, burn baby burn, Disco Inferno. But then when you're done with that, let's take a look at that oil blob attack. You saw that? So you send these oil blobs basically, as you can see, and then you could light them up. So you coat your enemies in the oil. First of all, they take damage when they get hit by the oil, but then you send a fire right behind it and they light up as well. So it's a really, really great 1-2 kind of combination to really hit your enemies and hit home against them. So that's kind of those two basic attacks. Then we've got Sizzle Shower, so I'll show you that right now. And as you can see, basically it allows you to rain down quite an impressive attack right there, very damaging, multiple amounts of hits. And of course, for me, it's a little more powered up, and that's why it covers a larger area than it would for you. But still, even if you didn't go with the bottom path like I did, Sizzle Shower is still an awesome attack. Even if you don't get it powered up fully, it's still fan-flippin-tastic. Now, of course, one of the upgrades in the bottom path to the Sizzle Shower was to be able to do the Oil Splash, and that is the Oil Splash. Unfortunately, I didn't get to show it on an enemy. I'll show you that in just a moment, because all the chompies failed to survive the basic Sizzle Shower. So here comes Bark Tree Demon, which we'll show you. Watch this now. So I could just do these splashes within my attack, which is awesome. So it does a ton of damage, and it's really, really fun and useful to use Sizzle Shower in that sense. And then of course we still got Hot Rod. So as you can see, Hot Rod, you basically run into your enemies. Nice, leveled up, that is awesome. So you run into your enemies, creating some damage and harm through that. Almost lost there for a moment. Let a little too many chompies in. But it's very cool to be able to turn into a freaking motorcycle. Like, how cool is that? That is just awesome. I think that that is incredible, that you can literally turn into a motorcycle with any of the Skylanders. It's just such a cool idea. And again, check out Kamen Rider W, Kamen Rider Axel. That's the name of the character, who also is basically kind of like a superhero Power Ranger like character that turns into a motorcycle. And I wonder if there's someone on the Skylanders team that kind of watches that show and they wanted to do like an homage or a tribute to the show by having Hothead turn into a motorcycle. And it's just awesome. I love that. I think that it's really, really cool, and it's just a really cool design choice, and very, very nice. It's definitely, it just, to me, Hothead is just a really fun character to play as. I cannot say that he's super duper effective in battles, because the fact, I mean, battles, what I mean is like if you're going to go up against your friends. As far as in the in-game battles, he's really useful. But if you're battling your friends, for example, Scissor Shower, as good as it is, it does keep you stationary. So if you have a long-ranged enemy like Pop Fizz or someone, he could literally just toss in potions and take care of you that way. So in some aspects, he's not super useful, but he's just really fun to play as. All of his attacks are really fun to use, and you're going to enjoy that. And I think that that's really why I went ahead and I decided to give Hothead a 9 out of 10. I think he's really, really fun. He doesn't stand out in terms of statistically, like, you know what I mean? He doesn't have like that one thing where you're like, oh my god, he's so good at that. But at the same time, his gameplay makes up for that, because he's really, really fun to use. He's a giant, basically walking volcano, and to me, being a big fan of fire and everything, like, I always chose fire Pokemon and games and things like that. So I just have a soft spot for Hothead, and that's why he gets a 9 out of 10. That being said, guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. How would you rate Hothead? Would you give him a 9 out of 10? Do you agree with that? Would you give him a higher rating? Would you give him a lower rating? Do you even own Hothead? Let me know in the comment section below. Will you be picking up Hothead after seeing this review? Thanks a lot for watching. If you found this review entertaining, funny, or just fun in any way, shape, or form, hit that like button, subscribe, share the videos, and favorite the videos. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll catch you guys with another Skylanders review. Peace out, and see ya later.